fifth tower. And we will start with Senatorial Tower. Here you can see how it looked some years ago before the renovation. And I marked the roof part because that was the main point of the renovation process at that time. And here on this older photo, you can see how it was left after the Austrian occupation with the crenels instead of roof. Here are some drawings. I wanted to show you how it was very detailed. We did some very detailed inventarization of all the destruction of the tower. And here you can see how it looks nowadays with the new rooftop. And on the right side, how it looks inside. And why we did it. The historical tower had a similar roof like the one in the photograph, but then the roof was destroyed by the Austrians. And in the 20th century, after regaining independence, we made this tough decision to reconstruct the roof. And the main problem, of course, is that we don't know the exact measures of the roof. It was just made just by using the iconography. So, for example, some drawings and paintings, so we can work out how the roof looked originally in the 15th century when it was built. Here are some closed-up photos from the constructing of the rooftop. It's a steel construction. And also there are parts, as you can see, this oriel window. And on the left picture, you can see how what was left from those oriel windows. And after, of course, many research and discussion, we decided to build new ones in the same proportions that were historically made. And we are sure that the proportion and the size is right, because here we can see that those marks on the wall show us where exactly it was. But always it's a big question if to leave it like this or just to make a new one. Okay, this is the second tower, the Sandomierska Tower. Also, this is the picture before the renovation works. Here, this is how it looked before it was rebuilt under the Austrian occupation, left from the defensive wall. First, of course, there was some discussions about the reconstruction. Here you can see again those elements that were reconstructed. And also there was a big problem how to make communication, to adapt the tower for the modern use, because in the Gothic towers we had no like regular staircase. so we had to adapt the tower for the new purpose, to show it to the tourists. And this was the first proposal, just to make the outer staircase to go up the tower. But of course, it's not the original look of the tower. Here you can see how it looks nowadays after the renovation works of the elevations, the oriel windows, and also the new staircase. And the staircase is made out of concrete and covered with brown paint to imitate wooden stairs. And of course, the concrete one can last more years. Here I marked the oriel windows that again were reconstructed, and the holes in the brick wall, in the brick elevation, exactly guided us where they were, and that's how they were reconstructed. This is the closed-up photo of the oriel window. Here is how it looked like before, the new stone part, and on the right side you can see how it looks inside. And previously, historically, of course, it was just a hole because it's open for tourists. We put their windows. Okay, here's the third Gothic tower on the Wawel Hill, the fifth tower. And here you can see the picture before the renovation and reconstruction of the roof. And again, this part here is rebuilt, made under Austrian occupation without the roof. I'm sorry, there is just one blank slide. And here you can see the elevation of the fifth tower, and with this pink color, pink or maybe light red, you can see the original part of the tower, the 14th century. It's the oldest tower on the Wawel Hill, and as you can see, there is a lot of the original part left. And with this darker red color, with those little points, are exactly marked the places where we had to refill the bricks. And of course, this green and yellow are the newer parts. Here is the view of the fifth tower without the roof, and on the right you can see the Sandomierska tower with the roof, and you can have the impression that there is something missing. It's not like the typical Gothic proportion of the tower of buildings. Here are our three towers already after renovation and reconstruction works. So the new roof on Senatorial Tower and a new roof on the fifth tower. Also, I want to tell you something about the fortification walls. Here on this drawing, you can see the inner part of the fortification, the Gothic one with our 5th tower here, and the outer fortification, the Tenail fortification. And on this picture, there is the same part, the Tenail fortification, and you can see that the elevation of the wall is divided into the lower part and the upper part. Here is the line where the lower part ends, and here is this upper part. And there is a little difference when you look from some distance between those two parts. And why? The lower part is the older part from this wall. So here, it was built between 16th and 18th century. And the upper part is the one made under the Austrian occupation. And of course, it's always a big question what to do, if to leave everything or to destroy and just leave the historical part. So what was decided to do? So we distinguish those two parts. And the historical part was covered with some kind of plaster mixed with red pigment. And the elevation was covered in it. And the Austrian part is just brick without this plaster on the elevation. And maybe in the picture you cannot see it exactly, but when you walk around Wawel Castle, then you can exactly tell that there are those two parts. Here are also some, it's a page from the project of renovation of those walls. And the project, in the project, we wanted to regain the previous slope of the hill. As you can see with this thin line here, there is how it looks nowadays, and this is how it is planned to do. Like in historical times, it was lower. And as you can see in some parts, those windows are covered with soil. So this is only a project and not yet finished. We did some works with the reconstruction of the fortification, but still the hill is waiting for the renovation to uncover those lower parts, the historical parts. Here is also a fragment of the fortifications that I wanted to show you. This is the northern side of the hill, and if you I hope you will visit the Wawel Hill, you will enter through this gate, and here on this wall there are some stones here, those white fragments of limestone, commemorating the donators to reconstruct the Wawel Hill, the Wawel monuments after the First World War. And so, of course, the wall was very, very important for the last 100 years to remain and to present those donators. And the place is very very dangerous, let's say, because there is a sloppy hill behind it, as you can see, and there was a constant problem about this wall. So what was done? Maybe I will show you here. So there is the inner part of the wall, which is exactly the construction. And here you can see the outer, the face of the wall with those donator bricks. And between the brick face wall and the construction wall, there is a ventilation gap, and the core, the construction wall, is covered with insulation, because the constant problem is the humidity in this wall that is coming through this hill behind it. As maybe some of you know, the Wawel Hill is a limestone hill, and there are many micro caves inside it. So the problem is that the water periodically flows or can occur in those micro caves, and the wall is constantly humid. So it was a big problem. And also that, like I said, it is a very important fragment of the Wawel fortifications. And this is the photo of, during the renovation. With you can say we have like two different walls now, and it lasts already for around 10 years, and it looks well, so I hope it will last longer. That was all I wanted to shortly present you from our Wawel fortifications. And of course, if you have some further questions, or maybe if you want some more information, you can contact me at this email here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now we have to pass to the other page in our agenda. Yeah. You all had these documents with the agenda, with the draft agenda we sent to you. So first we have to approve Marrakesh meeting minutes. Is everyone approves the Marrakesh meeting minutes if they read it? How will we understand that?
Hi, this is Steve. I think that everybody can go to the bottom of their page or the top of their page and open up. It's called reactions, and they can give a thumbs up.
Okay. Arun Menon wrote in the chat also. Okay.
Steve, where is the thumbs up?
With the reactions, when you push reactions.
Oh, reactions.
Bottom right.
Oh, yes, yes.
All right, I think we have approval. So unanimously approved, we can say. All right, can we move on? I'd like to introduce you new expert members and new members. Expert membership, Federica Greco. Is she here?
Thank you.
Is she here? Federico Greco? Maybe no. Carl Selin from Sweden. He is not. Okay. As associate member, Shola Akintunde. I hope I read it correctly. Nigeria, from Nigeria. If none of them are here, we can move on. Okay, information about ISCARSAH activities. ISCARSAH members had a meeting to discuss guidelines on 7 March 2019 in Barcelona. Pere Roca hosted this meeting. 26 members attended this meeting. And the ICOMOS 22 General Assembly would be in Sydney, Australia, but due to pandemic, the General Assembly is postponed to 2023. Yes, we can move. Okay,
it's Peter Phillips.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say there will be a General Assembly in 2020, but it will be a virtual one.
Virtual one, all right.
Yes, okay. But we're hoping that in 2023, the face-to-face General Assembly will be in Sydney, Australia.
All right. Sorry, I didn't know that. Thank you for clarifying. So we'll have the announcement, I think, soon to everyone. Now, as initiative, ISCARSAH guidelines will be introduced by Pere Roca.
I will try to share my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
No.
No, sorry. I will try to see how to do that.
Share the screen.
The screen.
Yeah. Now we see your PowerPoint.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we can see the PowerPoint.
Okay, good. So I will shortly refer to the recommendations, to the guidelines of the recommendations. Thank you very much, Gurun, for the chance to introduce them to the members of to the participants to the meeting, even if they probably already know because they have been presented in other former occasions. So I will tell you something about this initiative, the preparation of a new set of guidelines for our recommendations for the analysis, conservation, and structural restoration of architectural heritage. So why to think about a new set of guidelines, which is the purpose of writing a new set of guidelines? Well, as you know very well, we have the recommendations written and approved a long time ago. The recommendations include two parts. The first part are the principles, which include the basic concepts of conservation, general criteria, research and diagnosis, and remedial measures and controls. And we also have the guidelines, which are oriented to describe the practical application of these basic concepts on conservation included in the principles. The fact is that the guidelines have not been approved by ICOMOS. Only the principles have been approved by ICOMOS. They were approved a long time ago, but the guidelines were not even submitted for possible approval. So we thought about the possibility of improving the former guidelines and maybe thinking about submitting them to ICOMOS. Why to prepare a new set of guidelines? Well, we think that the former ones needed a more clear organization. We decided to improve the organization according to a more clear structure, to update the guidelines with new concepts and definitions, to address and provide clear ideas on some critical concepts. For instance, what is a minimal intervention and how is a minimal intervention attained? Of course, preparing a set of guidelines would offer a very interesting opportunity for discussion and elaboration. We needed to align the guidelines with the ISO 13822 document, and especially with the Annex 1 of this ISO document, which is specifically intended for heritage structures. And well, because of all these considerations, the committee decided to create a workforce and to have some colleagues working on the new set of guidelines. This occurred in Leuven in 2016. The task group includes several colleagues, a number of colleagues that have been working hard in preparing the new set of guidelines. However, many colleagues have actually participated in them because we have received comments by many colleagues from the committee. So far, there has been a significant participation through comments, additions to the draft, and so on. And especially, we had the meeting in Barcelona in March 7, 2019, with the attendance of 25 members. And I would say that this was a very interesting meeting with extremely productive and interesting discussions. To me, at least, it was a great experience, a really satisfactory experience because of the valuable comments put forward and all the ideas provided for improving the draft of on the guidelines. So as a challenge now, we have to improve the draft so far created, according to all these contributions and the discussion in the meeting in Barcelona. However, improving the draft according to all this is very challenging because of the many ideas, very valuable, but sometimes difficult ideas put forward during the meeting or through different communication ways. I need to, at this moment, I need to apologize because I should have been working in the new draft based on the meeting and the contributions, and I have not been doing this for a long time. I have been very busy, and I am sorry about that. I expect to work hard during the upcoming months. So sorry for my delay in working in the new draft. In any case, the idea is to prepare a new draft, including all these contributions, to work on the new draft with, of course, the cooperation of all the members in the subcommittee, and then to circulate the new draft among all ISCARSAH members. I don't know if we have time, Gurun, to introduce a bit the contents of the guidelines. I would not like to take too much time. So if I have some time, I may say something about the contents and the new additions. Otherwise, I may stop here. It depends on how much we have for this intervention. So can I spend some more time to say something about the contents of the guidelines?
Yes, of course.
Yes, okay, thank you. I will try to be short because I know there are many contributions during the meeting. So the new guidelines are laid out in the following way. We have a first chapter or section on general criteria, a second section on diagnosis, a third section on structural performance verification. We need to improve these terms because it was discussed in Barcelona that in fact structural performance could be understood as part of diagnosis. So we may change these words. However, the structure will still be the same. We will distinguish between the previous studies included in the diagnosis phases and then the investigation or the evaluation of the safety of the structure and its structural performance. Then another section on intervention and a last section on the explanatory report with a number of possible annexes, one annex on actions, another annex on damage and material decay, another annex on remedial measures, yet another annex on an application of advanced modeling techniques, another one on seismic analysis, and another annex proposed by Mustafa Umo, a checklist for engineers in order to assist engineers and practitioners in applying the guidelines. The sections are organized in the following way. In the general criteria, there is a first section on the aims of the study, historical structures and the purpose of the guidelines. A second one on the heritage and social values, the character defining elements that are to be taken into account in order to lay out the possible intervention so that it will be respectful with the authenticity involved in all the heritage and social values of the structure. The concept of minimal intervention, the attempt to define what we really understand, what is a minimal intervention and how is a minimal intervention obtained, reached, which is the process leading to a minimal intervention. Then another section to discuss on the limitations of codes and conventional methods and the proposed approach that we suggest for the possible study of historical structures, and then the phases of the study. Then there is a second section on diagnosis. It includes the following sections. The first one on the aims of diagnosis and the proposed approach. As you will remember, our proposed approach considers 4 different activities or approaches: historical research, inspection, monitoring, and structural analysis. And therefore, the following sections are devoted to these approaches. There is a section on historical and architectural research, another section on inspection, another section on monitoring, which will provide information on how to carry both static and dynamic monitoring, and then another section on structural analysis. Some of these aspects were already dealt with in the former guidelines. However, we will include additional information and we'll also deal with some new concepts. Then there is a third section on structural performance verification, what was called in the previous guidelines safety evaluation. This is not a very correct term. It is better to speak about structural verification or structural performance verification. We will try to explain which is the aim of structural verification in historical buildings, what are the reliability levels that we need to target, what is our proposed approach for structural verification. As in the former guidelines, we still keep with the same concept. Our approach is the result of combining 4 different activities or approaches: historical analysis, qualitative analysis, experimental analysis, and structural analysis. Therefore, we are going to comment on all of them. Then we will speak about model calibration, a very important concept, a very important activity that needs to be carried out in order to integrate the different approaches. And as a novelty in the new guidelines, we include a section on the synthesis of the different approaches, how to combine the different approaches in a single strategy or method, leading to an adequate, reliable understanding of the reliability of the structure, the real capacity of the structure to resist the different actions, earthquake, gravity, and so on. Then there is another chapter on the intervention. This chapter includes many novelties compared to the previous guidelines. There is a section on intervention criteria. This is similar to the previous guidelines. However, we attempt in this new section to define, to clearly state what are the criteria, and we introduce some new criteria also as a way to help engineers and architects in designing appropriate interventions. Then, as a novelty, we include a section on the application of intervention criteria in practice. What are the difficulties? How can we apply all these criteria in reality, in practice? How can we overcome the difficulties and obtain adequate interventions satisfying the principles or intervention criteria? Then we introduce a new concept. This is something new, the concept of reparability or pro and post natural disaster maintainability. This has been proposed by Claudio Modena. It has to do with the intervention in buildings subjected to earthquake in seismic regions, seismic prone regions. The idea is to propose a strategy which is based in limited previous and later interventions after the earthquake, prior to the earthquake, or after the earthquake, to carry out limited interventions as a way to increase the capacity of buildings to resist earthquake, avoiding very heavy, very transforming interventions. The idea is that the earthquake can be resisted, in fact, by providing limited interventions in the appropriate time, and that this is better than introducing very heavy interventions that would transform radically the structure. The idea is that no intervention, including seismic interventions, should really transform the original structure in such a way that further interventions, compatible interventions, may not be possible anymore. Well, after introducing this concept, that's also something new. We propose an engineering approach for the design of intervention. We are offering or proposing some intervention criteria, but we need to explain how in practice can architects and engineers design appropriate interventions, which is the process, the engineering process leading to the appropriate design of an intervention. We try to propose a way to do that. It is based on considering a set of different solutions, a set of alternative interventions, in evaluating the cost of every possible alternative interventions. All these alternative interventions should satisfy the required availability level, structural relativity level. All these interventions, alternative interventions, will be evaluated regarding the cost in cultural terms, the cultural cost that this intervention has. And of course, the preferred intervention will be the one that, while satisfying to an optimal extent all the intervention criteria and satisfying also the relativity level, produces the lesser cost to the cultural value of the structure. We introduce a section on the incremental approach. This is not new. The incremental approach is well known, was already included and discussed in the previous guidelines. We are including again the concept and trying to improve the definition of the concept. Something new, we try to provide criteria on how to evaluate the impact of interventions on the cultural value of structures, how different interventions may have a different cost or impact in terms of loss of cultural value. In some cases, there is no loss of cultural value, or the value may even be enhanced by the intervention. However, in other cases, there is significant cost in terms of cultural value. So we try to provide some criteria and examples on how to evaluate the cultural value. This is needed as a way to apply the proposed engineering approach to the design of intervention, which is based on the evaluation of the impact of intervention on the cultural value. Finally, there is a section on quality assurance proposed by Victor Collas and Jakob Schaffer. I think it's a very interesting addition. How can we ascertain that the criteria will reach the real structure and the execution of intervention in the real structure? And then we finish with the explanatory report. As I said, there is a draft including all these sections. However, the draft has to be improved according to all the contributions received and also all the discussion in Barcelona. And I hope we will be able to do so in the upcoming months. However, there will be still some work because regarding the possible annexes, nothing is done. And I think that producing the annexes may be a very interesting activity for the committee for the future. We have to keep on working, improving the guidelines, the main document, but also we should try to work on the annexes, which may be a very interesting tool for the application of the guidelines. So that's all for the moment. If there is any question, any comment, of course, I will be pleased to address it.
Thank you. There are so many praises in the chat for you, Pere. Please, please look at them. Are there any questions to Pere Roca? From the audience? I think everything was so clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maybe I just wanted to say something to Pere. If you want to start working on the guidelines, Pere, and you need, yes, and then you will start. So just ask.
Yes, thank you. I actually need help because the task is very challenging. Writing the first draft was difficult. However, it was possible with the help of the colleagues. But now, producing the new draft is even more challenging. I have the records of the Barcelona. We need to go through the entire tapes and remember all the ideas. So thank you for mentioning this possibility of having some help. I think it's necessary. It's not a single person task. It has to be done with
absolutely. And we help.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Enormous.
Corona.
Yes.
Nikki. Yes, but I want as well to say that we have worked with Pere on these guidelines, and there is always an invitation for Greece, yes. Pere. You remember, we have tried, I don't know if Eli Vigileo is here, but I saw her before, but we tried to make a next meeting, and finally something happened. So we are, of course, as usually available, and to work in our small group in order to help you and continue to work and in order to finish or to arrive in another point on this endeavor of the guidelines. So we're expecting from you a reaction in order to organize our meeting in Athens.
The invitation at the NTUA is always valid.
Yes.
We really need to do that. We really need to have this meeting.
Okay.
In order to progress,
yes.
The situation we have, but this meeting is very important in order to progress.
Okay, we shall do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Shall we pass the other, Steve?
Can you hear me?
Pierre wanted to say something, I think.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Pere. And we are a group of colleagues in the same direction, but we may have opinion also which are difficult to put together in a coherent line. And so that's a little bit my concern also, because when we are just dealing with engineers and people interested in structures, but when we are dealing...
We don't hear Pierre. There is a terrible noise.
Do you hear me?
Yeah. I want everybody to close the microphone because
I will try to put the microphone higher. Yeah, it's maximum level, sorry. I'm going to speak louder. There is also the air con, but in Taiwan the weather is very hot, so I need the air con. Yeah, so thank you very much, Freddy. It is a very difficult task, and that there are many opinions, and to make something coherent with so many different opinions, which very often are going together, but sometimes also are going in different directions, is a very difficult task. And in your presentation, I was thinking a bit also that the presentation is a bit linear. It seems everything is fine with step 1, step 2, step 3. But the fact of only discussing about this structure already put ourselves in a situation in which we don't agree, say we should pay attention to this and this and this, and we are just engineers or people which are interested by engineering problems. In the reality of the situation, very often we have to also to collaborate with people which have different ideas. And so you are speaking, for instance, about the cultural value. If for me, I don't know if there is only one cultural value. So if we take, for instance, the